Honesty Liller here, co-founder of Care Talks, as well as Woman in Long-Term Recovery from Addiction myself for almost 14 years. Welcome to the Care Talks. We are celebrating Women's History Month, so we have all women plus John Shinholzer on tonight's event. So we're excited to hear so many different solutions to addiction, and so many individuals on our panel have all been affected in some way from addiction. So we are kicking off our event tonight with the ladies. So just to kind of see how the night goes, we have a bunch of speakers before the intro, and then we have a commercial break and a potty break and whatever you need. And then after that, we will have 4 more speakers. So our first up, I met Felicia, a couple years ago, I guess, and we've connected through the Hanover CSB. I am on the Hanover Opiate Task Force with her, so we're doing a lot of great things here in my hometown, Hanover County. So with that, I give you Felicia Baez.
Thank you all so much. Good evening. I'm so honored to be here. Thank you so much, Honesty, for extending the invitation, and happy Women's History Month. Again, my name is Felicia Baez. I am a behavioral health and wellness specialist on the prevention team with the Hanover County Community Services Board, or also known as the Hanover CSB. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about our work at the CSB. Our team is community-based, and we meet people where they're at. Some people, they may need strategies for things like managing stress, or maybe they're looking for resources to understand mental health. That's sort of who we serve, right? We just want folks to thrive. I also have the pleasure of serving on the Hanover Cares Coalition. And so that coalition is dedicated to eliminating substance use among our youth in Hanover County. And the ultimate goal that we want to do is saturate the community with education and outreach. That's all the work that we do, right? Part of the coalition also has a youth component called Teens Care 2, and they are doing amazing work just empowering their peers to keep their schools and communities drug-free. One project I'm going to talk about is their Crush the Alcohol culture. They've created 5 videos and posters that they plan to distribute out at their schools and post on their Instagram. And it's just around messaging around alcohol. They're also going to be writing letters to their legislators and hopefully their county board of supervisors, so we can post those videos out and just get some messaging around what does that look like to be alcohol free and crushing that alcohol culture. So what is prevention, right? That's my solution to addiction, or part of the solution, right? I won't say it's everything. But in prevention, what we're doing is finding out why people are using substances and then trying to reduce those risks to build that protective factors. So that in turn, it promotes resiliency. It decreases risks in the individuals, in family members, in the overall community. It looks like us talking to churches and getting information out to their congregation. It looks like joining weekly or monthly meetings at various community groups or volunteer organizations and sharing information. It's creating messaging on pharmacy bags. We've partnered with Mechanicsville Pharmacy, so that way when folks go to pick up their medications, they see a message about storing medications safely. We're also working on creating TV or PSA ads, so that way we reach all different sorts of demographics like youth, men, moms, just getting that messaging around over-the-counter medications, locking those things up out into the community. And so we really just connect people to resources. We're providing trainings for folks to learn new skills and sharing information. And in a typical year, I'd say our team probably reaches up to or more than 4,000 residents. And so as a society, and in many communities, we're very silent about substance use and addiction and mental health. We have a tendency to sweep things under the rug. We act hush hush. We don't want people to know that Uncle Joe has an alcohol issue. If anything, we're saying things like, oh, he just had a spell and we don't see him often. And everyone knows someone who has been affected by addiction, right? Insert whatever the substance is. I know for me, I grew up in a Hispanic household, and I have family members who are dealing with substance use right now, but I just found out because we just don't talk about it. There's that culture there. It's taboo. We don't want to say anything. And then we talk about all these statistics, right? The hundreds, the thousands, hundreds of thousands. But we have to remember that there are people behind those numbers, right? This is someone's family member, loved one, peers, coworkers, friends of friends. And so I am an ally, or I like to consider myself an ally, and want to continue to raise awareness and make an impact. And that's sort of my personal connection of knowing close friends and family members who have issues with alcohol and other substances. And so part of our responsibility, especially as a community and a CSB, is to start promoting having conversations in the home, healthy peer groups, a presence of a caring adult, strong social support. That school and community engagement really makes a difference and can prevent substance use. And we don't want to wait until someone needs treatment to start getting involved, right? That early intervention is really key to living substance-free and having a healthy life. And so it also provides an opportunity to identify if there is a problem, right? So we want folks to be trained in mental health first aid. We want folks to know about our trainings like More Than Sad, which teaches parents how to identify things like anxiety and depression in their teens. And we want to equip people with resources. Another solution, well, really not a solution, but a training that I wanted to promote and get out there is Revive training. For folks who aren't familiar, Revive training teaches people how to respond to an overdose emergency using naloxone. It was developed by the Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Services. And I hold this training twice a month. On the second Wednesday and third Thursday of every month. I'm happy to share the flyers out, and I'll talk a little bit more about social media. But these trainings are free of charge, right? They're done completely virtual via Zoom because of COVID. And prior to working for the CSB, I worked as a health educator with the Chickahominy Health District, and that served 4 counties: Hanover, Goochland, Charles City, and New Kent. And I'm proud that we were able to facilitate over 61 trainings, and our health department dispensed over 900 doses of naloxone. And so I also want to point out there that Narcan isn't the end-all solution. It's definitely a Band-Aid to a huge issue. But I will say it's preventing people from dying, right? I think any and everyone need the training. It's church members, business owners, people who work at gas stations, school teachers, students. Everyone should be trained in Revive and actually have access to Narcan. I think also another piece of that puzzle is community readiness. We need to get to a space where addiction and substance use isn't stigmatized, and that it's okay to seek help. And so I'm really passionate about this work and want people to know that there are resources out there. And I also want to talk a little bit about our regional efforts. Hanover, we collaborate with a lot of other community partners and counties. You heard Honesty talk about in the beginning our Hanover Opioid Task Force. This has all sorts of agencies at the table, right? You've got law enforcement, fire, us, the CSB, the health department, McShin, school representatives, and we're just now starting to get some community members to come in. All these folks are at the table trying to brainstorm ideas and ways to help the community. And something that I am proud that we got out was the You Are Worthy bags. These are bags with the messaging of you are worthy, just talking a little bit about person first language and wanting folks to know that it's okay to need help. And inside the bags come resources talking about the CSB same day access. It comes with information about Revive training and so forth. And so law enforcement and fire, they're able to, when they arrive on a scene that has to do with substance use overdose or things like that, they can actually leave this bag with either family members or people on the scene in the hopes that folks will seek help, or if they need resources, they can be connected to them. Another thing that I wanted to talk about was the next DEA Drug Take Back Day. It's April 24th, and I know our county, and I'm sure other counties are going to be talking about this and sharing information about how to safely dispose of medications, whether it's expired or you just don't need them anymore. But our team, I know for sure, will be out there handing out resources, maybe You Are Worthy bags or some cards with information so that way folks know about it. I think it's also important to pass out those resources like medication lock boxes so that way folks don't have to wait until a drug take back day to get rid of that unwanted medication. You know, I think about those everyday medications like the Tylenols, the ibuprofens, Benadryl, Sudafed. We know that these are substances that are easily accessible in the home. And maybe some parents and folks don't think about, oh, I need to make sure that I lock that up. And so I want to put out that messaging that it's important to lock up your medications, even if it's not the opioid. It could be something simple like Benadryl, and securing those alcohol, whether it's a bar or in your cabinets. And so I talked a little bit about, you know, ways that we've been impacting the community and what we're working on. But I also want to let people know that there are ways to get involved. You know, this doesn't work if we don't get community buy-in and engagement. Just wanting to put some quick plugs out there. So I talked a little bit about Hanover Cares as a coalition. Right now, we're meeting virtual once a month, and some of the work that we're doing can be found on social media. And so if you want more information, whether it's data, information about how to safely store medication, trainings that are available, you can go to their website. That's hanover-cares.org. You can also follow them on social media. I do believe that they have a Twitter and a Facebook, and so does our Teens Care 2 folks. We also have a Facebook, the Hanover Behavioral Health and Wellness Team. And so we're constantly posting information and trying to reach the community because we know, you know, COVID, it's hard to get outside and reach that population. I think also what's important to talk about is some of that regional effort. I believe BeWellVirginia.com and Opioid Solutions RVA are other websites. That was sort of a collaborative effort of Hanover, Henrico, Richmond, Chesterfield, Goochland, just to let folks know about recovery and treatment resources. And so as I wrap up, I just wanted to say, you know, this pandemic, COVID-19 has brought to light a lot of issues, and we've seen an increase in substance use, in mental illness. You know, people are feeling overwhelmed, lonely, stressed, anxious, and they may not have, you know, healthy coping skills. Maybe they turn to substances or they don't know where to go. And so I'm happy that I'm part of a team that wants to promote that wellness and get that information out. But we really need to continue to do that work to end the stigma, to promote that messaging, to saturate the county, to saturate our communities. And, you know, the work continues, right? It takes a village. We don't just need prevention. We need prevention, recovery, treatment. We need to be amplifying the messaging. And so supporting everyone just really helps us all. So thank you.
Yay, thank you so much. A couple of those things. My daughter was in Teen Cares 2 for years, so that was a huge help in our household. And Narcan saved my life, and I wouldn't be here without it. So thank you so much. Felicia, amazing, and I love working with you, so thank you. Our next speaker is very special to me in my personal life and my personal recovery. She's gotten me through a lot of hard times the past probably, 5 years now, and a lot of great times, great memories. And she has a perspective that is completely I admire because she's not in recovery and she's helped so many humans with addiction throughout her own process of life. So with that, I give you Alden Gregory.
Oh, I'm muted. Okay. Never mind. All right. Hi. Thank you for having me tonight. Honesty, you've probably asked me to speak at maybe 3 different Care Talks now, and this is the first time I said yes, and that is 100% only because it is virtual, and I'm just looking at myself talking, and that still doesn't make me that much less nervous, but here I am. But hi, everyone. I am Alden Gregory. I am a licensed resident in counseling working towards my LPC. I actually just scheduled that exam, so that is exciting and horrible, but that's coming up soon. outside of that, I'm also someone who has struggled with my own mental health issues and who loves a whole lot of people in recovery from addiction. So I approach my life and especially my career from both of those sides, from like the clinician therapist point of view, but also with that personal life experience as well. If I had been asked to speak a year ago and said yes, I think I probably would have shared something very different with y'all than I am going to be sharing this evening. I probably would have talked about, as the solution being like creating purpose, setting goals, prioritizing yourself, maintaining boundaries, as some of the keys to navigating and living a life on the other side of mental health and substance use struggles. However, this is not last year. This year has been very different. This year, my solution to addiction and mental illness is resilience and grace. So this year we have all lived through a pandemic. We've been forced to acknowledge the horrors of racial injustice in our society. We've lived through the collective trauma of this past year together. This has been the year that children have been asked to learn from their rooms, to stay away from their friends, to come to terms with some pretty harsh realities of the world that they're growing up in. This is the year that many of the resources that have been life-saving for people living with mental health and substance use issues have been taken away or limited or changed drastically. This is the year that we've been isolated from our loved ones. We've said goodbye to people who have lost their lives, and we've been forced to somehow adapt to the reality that we've lived in. In my job, the effects of this year have shown up in a variety of ways. A 13-year-old student who's dealing with persistent suicidal ideation, a 40-year-old dad who's struggling with controlling his own drinking, a woman who's serving as her mom's caretaker and not being able to pay her rent for months on end, a college student who's been the victim of police brutality, a teenager who has lost a friend to an overdose while trying to maintain her own recovery. People have had to deal with mounting anxiety, depression, substance use, suicidal ideation to a degree that we just really haven't seen before. It has been a pretty tough year to come into as my first full year in my career as a therapist. But here we are. So if you're tuning in to Care Talk tonight, congratulations. You've survived the past year and the rest of your life up until that point. And that's a pretty big deal and not something to take lightly. I think we need to acknowledge that merely being here and having made it to this point is good enough right now. We don't have to look at this past year and say, I've really progressed, I'm thriving, I'm happy day in and day out, my relationships are amazing. That doesn't have to all be there for a success. The fact that you're here and you've made it through that is, there's still hope there that it can change. I want you to take a minute to think about your past year and maybe even beyond that into other moments of your life that you've persevered through to be here today. No matter what shape you're in, how beaten down, tired, uncertain, frustrated, or hopeless you feel, there's a small piece of hope in the fact that you have just made it to this point. That's it. Just making it to this point means that there's hope. And that hope is the resilience that we build without ourselves by persevering or simply making it through the challenges in our life is the resilience and the strength that is needed to deal with mental illness and addiction. People don't get through battling mental illness, battling addiction without some level of resilience, even if it feels like you're not doing it well. The fact that you're doing it shows resilience. These are not simple one and done things to handle, which means that it's also necessary that we give ourselves grace throughout the whole process. And a big piece of that means lowering expectations of yourself. And I don't mean that to sound harsh, but I mean it like, it's unrealistic to expect yourself to have lived through this past year, to be getting straight A's, to be excelling in your career, to be motivated every day to take the best care of yourself, to flourish and, you know, be 100% present in all your relationships, to manage your emotions in a healthy way. Like, the fact that we've been through this year means that it's okay if you don't reach that threshold that you see as success or that you see as doing it right. We have to just kind of be okay with doing it to whatever level that means. Something I've talked about with my clients repeatedly over this year has been going back to the basics. When we feel ourselves struggling, we have to check on ourselves like we would check on a dog or a plant, maybe a dog more than a plant. But like, are you eating? Are you drinking water? Are you sleeping? Are you having social interaction? Are you getting outside? Like, when I work with this on my clients, I call them like your dog needs, like making sure your dog needs are met before you can worry about, am I showing up as a friend? Am I giving my all at my job? Am I motivated enough and studying enough for school? And I think the most important thing to do is, if you're finding those dog needs hard to meet, ask for help, you know, whether that's from a friend, whether that's a colleague, a mental health professional, a family member, a member of the recovery community. You know, reach out and say that, you know, I'm struggling and I need help. Even if you don't quite know how to articulate what you're feeling, what you're dealing with, why it's so hard, taking that step to reach out and letting the other person kind of take it from there is all that you need to do. That has been a big part of my job this year, has been really just helping people figure out what they are feeling, why it's hard, and that it's absolutely 100% okay that this year has been hard, that maintaining their mental health has been hard, that maintaining their recovery has been hard. Of course it's been hard. We're living in a ridiculous dystopia. So of course it's hard. It's okay. It's okay that you're not doing it great. Psychology Today is a great place to start if you are interested in like doing therapy and navigating that with a mental health professional. It's basically like online shopping for a therapist. You put in what insurance you have or no insurance, what you're dealing with, and where you live, and it just pops up with people. But thank you all for listening, and thank you all for still being here after all that you have been through this year. I'm glad that you're here. Thanks. Bye.
Yay. Thank you, Alden. That was amazing. Gosh, what a breath of fresh air. Like, sometimes I have to just sit back and think, like, she's damn right. We've all made it here past this year. My last week has been hell. So this whole year, it's just like, oh my gosh, like, wow. So thank you. You're so important to me, and I love you. Next up, we have Emily Walden. And she is actually the chair of Fed Up Rally. And just to mention on that real quick, so McShin, pre-COVID, would load up vans and buses and go up to the Fed Up Rally every single year. So we've unfortunately had to miss that because of COVID. So we're excited to get back out there. It's so awesome, the videos. We teach our participants in our housing how to advocate too and speak up for what is right, but also just have a voice, because a lot of us feel so voiceless when we come into recovery. And we had the megaphones and the marching and everything. So it's one of my favorite events and advocacy efforts. So with that, I give you Emily.
I'm muted, sorry. Thank you for inviting me to speak this evening. I am a mother that lost my 21-year-old son in 2012 to an opioid overdose. My son was offered an Oxycontin when he was 17 years old, and then moved to the drug Opana. I didn't know what Opana was. I didn't know there was an opioid epidemic. And I started researching, trying to figure out if these were prescribed drugs, how was he getting them, why were they so available, and I just couldn't believe it. And I did try everything I could with the knowledge I had at the time to help him, and he truly wanted help. I'd even put thousands of dollars on my credit card to send him to a treatment program, and unfortunately, he lost his life. So the year after my son passed away, I attended the first Fed Up rally in Washington, D.C., and became involved with the Fed Up Coalition. In 2019, I became chair of Fed Up, and we are made up of individuals and groups that are focused on the federal government's response to the opioid epidemic. So we provide a platform to amplify our messages into a single, unified effort to hold the federal government accountable. And we do not accept any funds from the pharmaceutical industry. There are so many groups across the country in every city, every town that are working so hard to help their communities. Naloxone training, getting people into treatment, all of those things must be done. And we kind of keep up with what's going on with the federal government, which is, a hard task to do. But we keep up with what bills are being introduced, what's going on in the agencies, and allow these groups, these that work so hard, not to have to do that, and can come to our site and get involved and be able to have a way to do that. So an addiction solution to me must entail addressing the root cause of this opioid epidemic. And the opioid epidemic started with the inappropriate marketing of OxyContin and the failure of our government agencies to provide the checks and balances necessary to protect public health. Our federal government turned a blind eye to what was going on around our country. And as addiction and death became more and more evident, for many, many years, they did nothing. So instead of addressing the issues early on, the FDA actually took steps that allowed for more opioids to be put on the market. They changed the clinical trial designs that remove safety and changes to the label to allow for long-term use of opioids without scientific evidence. In the case of my son, who was addicted to the drug Opana, and that particular drug was made by Endo Pharmaceuticals, it was removed from the market in 1979 due to abuse and safety issues. But as OxyContin became quite popular across the country, Endo took that same drug to the FDA in 2003, and it was denied because of safety issues in the clinical trial. So they sat down at the table with the FDA and came up with a new clinical trial that basically removed safety from the trial. And in 2006, they were able to get the drug approved with that trial. So instead of addressing the issues, the FDA knew exactly what was going to happen with this drug. They knew the problems that were going on with OxyContin already in our country. And they approved this anyway. And every single opioid since that time has used that new clinical trial design. So there have been many, many things that have happened over the years that has caused more and more addiction and death. Endo proceeded to market this drug inappropriately in areas around the country that led to complete destruction of communities. If you all remember, several years ago in Scott County, Indiana, there was an HIV outbreak, which the drug of choice in that area was Opana and is still Opana. The FDA's job is to ensure the safety of drugs and to protect public health. They have failed us. They could have taken many actions along the way to curb the overprescribing, inappropriate marketing, and it would have saved hundreds of thousands of lives. Instead, they have catered to the opioid makers at every turn. Congress is to provide oversight of our federal agencies. The pharmaceutical industry spends over $300 million a year on lobbying. Our elected officials have failed us. The FDA must correct past mistakes. They must stop the use of clinical trial designs that do not consider safety. They must prohibit the marketing of opioids for long-term use. And all new opioid approvals should stop during this crisis. Congress needs to take action. They must take action to end conflicts of interest between FDA regulators and the pharmaceutical industry. You know, I think about how long it's been since I lost my son and how many people were affected before him, but how many hundreds of thousands of people have been affected since 2012, and what little has been done to really stop new addictions. So I absolutely believe that we need to have money for treatment. We need services provided for those who are addicted, for those who need help immediately. But if our federal government does not take action in addressing these issues, we're just going to repeat this cycle. This will never end. It will continue. So I believe, as one of these many solutions, that needs to be a priority. And that is absolutely on our federal government to make sure it's a priority. If anyone would like to get involved with Fed Up, you can go to our website, which is feduprally.org, and sign up for our newsletter. We will often send things out to make a comment on the FDA's docket, or to support a bill, or to even just let you know what's going on with the federal government and how they're addressing this. We also have Twitter and Facebook. So please join us, get involved on a federal level, and see if we can make some change. Thank you.
Yes, please follow them on social media and definitely get involved as much as possible, because unfortunately, every single week I see someone dying through Facebook or through our community. So unfortunately, we still have so much more work to do. So thank you, Emily, for all that you and Fed Up does, not just for your locality, but all over the nation. So thank you for that. Our last speaker is actually one of my girls from Hanover CSB too, but we've got to connect. I love what she's doing, specifically in the jails here at Pamunkey and Hanover. McShin was in there for 4 years, but then COVID hit, so we've taken a little break. But I give you Dr. Gabriella Caldwell-Miller.
Good evening, everyone. I'm so grateful to be here with this dynamic group of women, and thank you to Honesty for answering my frantic calls, because I'm old and could not figure out how to get on, but all is well, and I'm grateful to be here. So what I want to start by sharing is that accidental drug overdose is the leading cause of death for folks coming out of incarceration. Studies show that folks are anywhere from 12 to 40 times more likely to die from an opioid overdose within the first 4 weeks after release. So before I get into the specifics, let me backtrack and tell you a little bit about me. When I started my career in addictions work 25 years ago, I was trained in an abstinence-only model. So we were not proponents of MAT. It was just straight 12-step model, cognitive behavior therapy, and reality therapy, which just meant if you do the crime, you do the time. I remember us saying things that now we know are extremely hurtful and disrespectful to people on their recovery journey. But back then we were doing the best we could based on the science that we had. And I just say, thank God for grace and growth and for science that has taught us that there is so many tools, so much we can do to support people to live once they are released from jail. So let me talk about the risk factors. Why is it so dangerous for individuals being released from incarceration? One is because they come home and there are welcome parties and celebrations. Sometimes old friends want them to come to old places and do old behaviors. And if you're coming out, you're already anxious, you're already kind of excited, the cravings are kicking back up. What you're often going to do is try to use in the same way you did or remember you could use before you got locked up, which means they forget that they've had this sustained period of abstinence. And so when they use in large quantities, overdose and death can surely happen. And it does in so many cases. And it doesn't have to be that way. The second risk factor that we don't talk about as often for individuals that are coming home is the stress in and of itself of having to start over. For some people, they come out, their probation officer has a lot of requirements for them, so they know they have to find treatment, but they may not know where to go. They might need an ID, money, insurance, all types of basic needs that they have to get met. And so we already know from a social and psychological perspective that stress in and of itself can trigger cravings, but just the weight of the responsibility can be a huge risk factor for folks who are coming home from jail. So a solution that Hanover County has been fortunate enough to implement is providing medication-assisted treatment using Vivitrol for individuals who are leaving Pamunkey Regional Jail and re-entering the community. So why Vivitrol? Because Vivitrol is a long-acting injectable that will support people during that time period of their coming out of jail. They're feeling extremely stressed and overwhelmed. One less thing to worry about are opioid cravings. We already know there are some behaviors and rituals and routines with usage, but if you add to that the physiological component, it can be too overwhelming to overcome. So we have this program, and as I said, we're partnering with Pamunkey Regional Jail, and we're excited we're also able to partner with Hanover County Community Corrections and Virginia State Parole in Hanover County, so that if there are individuals at risk of being violated and sent back related to opioid use, but they have a job and they haven't been fired yet, and they're able to engage with us, we actually have money to send them to withdrawal management so that we can help them get clean from the opioids long enough to start the Vivitrol to keep life on track. So let me tell you a little bit how this will work. When the individual is in Pamunkey, there are first of all, there are counselors at Pamunkey, and the counselor will identify eligible individuals. And so eligible individuals, number one, they have to have a history of opioid use disorder. But beyond that, there's 5 populations: postpartum women, so women who've given birth in the last year, women with dependent children, individuals with a dual mental health and substance use disorder diagnosis, individuals with a substance use diagnosis and Hep C or HIV, individuals who are currently employed. So they got locked up short enough that their boss said they can keep their job. We want them to be able to get out and go to work, right? And then individuals who had to detox in jail. So they were intoxicated when they got locked up and they had to detox there. They're in tremendous risk when they come out. So the council identifies them. They get their dose of Vivitrol, maybe 2, starting 45 days before discharge, and then the second dose 15 days before discharge, which buys them 2 weeks of time to be out of jail without the pain of the physiological cravings, so they can kind of focus on getting connected with the counselor at the CSB who already knows who they are, who's already facilitated their first appointment. And we don't just focus on meds, because we know meds alone doesn't work. You need wraparound support. So case management, therapy, really working with folks to just put together the tools and the resources that they need to build their entire life. We're not just focusing on the disease, we're focusing on mind, body, and spirit. With our community population, as I said, the additional component is that we are able to pay for residential treatment and withdrawal management to help them. So overall, Hanover County is just super excited to be able to help individuals come out of jail and have a tool that they can use that will free their mind, free them from the physiological cravings enough so that they can take a beat to think and breathe and make the next right decision that supports their recovery. And we're very fortunate these funds are made possible through General Assembly allocations to the CSBs that flow down through the state. And we just recognize that lives are at stake, and we can no longer use those old tropes of all of the negative things we would say about people in recovery and the stigma. We have to throw all of that out of the window, because everybody deserves an opportunity to have a life worth living, and everybody is worth it. And so at Hanover County CSB and with our partners at the jail and other county partners, we're just really fortunate to be able to offer this solution. Thank you so much.
Gabriella, you need to get us back up in that jail or something. We miss going into Pamunkey. Seriously, I loved helping those women, or see if McShane can partner with the inmates that are coming directly out of jail with that Vivitrol. We would love that opportunity to help Hanover and those individuals that you guys serve. So let's definitely chat. All right. So I want to thank our first panel. We're going to go into a break, and we have a few commercials that our beautiful, amazing producer that's behind the scenes, Todd Widows. So if y'all need him for any videos or producing, he is with Ask Him Studios, and he rocks. So he's developed some commercials for McShane. And thank you, ladies. Thank you for all the solutions, and feel free to check out the rest of the speakers on Facebook. So we'll be back in exactly 10 minutes at 6:55, a little before. Hi, everyone. Honesty Liller, CEO of the McShane Foundation. We are getting ready for our golf tournament on May 14th. We hope you can make it to the tournament, or we have great sponsorship opportunities as well. So come on out, enjoy the beautiful Virginia weather, and hit some golf balls with us. Proceeds from this fundraiser will help our alumni if they ever need our services again, or one of their family members. Check out the event for May 14th on our Facebook page. Share it, like it, and please consider being a sponsor so you can help one of our alumni or one of their family members. Thank you.
Here at McShin, we believe in the McShin way, which is authentic recovery support service providers, people with lived experience, bringing that experience to those who need that lived experience in recovery.
Here at McShin, we believe in many things to support our mission. We believe in women empowerment.
What I love most about what we believe here at McShin is we believe in the authenticity of the peer-to-peer approach.
Here at the McShin Foundation, we believe in giving people opportunity.
Here at McShin, we believe in the inherent worth and dignity of every person.
At the McShin Foundation, we believe in helping people reach their full potential.
Here at the McShin Foundation, we believe in multiple pathways to recovery.
Here at McShin, we believe in placing principles before personalities to help spread hope.
Here at McShin, we believe that recovery is possible and that any person seeking recovery can become a more acceptable, responsible, and productive member of society.
Here at the McShin Foundation, we believe in self-discovery.
Here at McShin, we believe in saving lives and offering second chances.
Here at McShin, we believe you can do this.
Here at McShin Foundation, we believe that we can only keep what we have by giving away, which is why we continue to help others like us seek and find recovery.
Hi, my name is Jillian Nye, and I'm the Director of Female Programs here at the McShin Foundation.
I'm Carla. I'm the Assistant Director of Female Programs.
We have an amazing women's program house out in Chester, Virginia.
I've seen so many women's lives change since entering into the McShin Foundation, and I'm grateful to be a part of it.
This is where the girls get to experience recovery in a more intimate setting. The house that they live in sits on about 3 acres of land, and in the back they have a horse pasture where we are able to get animals out there. Soon we should have chickens and goats and all type of different animals. They also get to have their groups here at the house.
I've seen so many women's lives change, and it's amazing to be able to see that. What I like to see is when they come in and when they leave. I see the difference.
Out there, they have a group room, they have a exercise room, they have a therapy room, they have no outside distractions going on. They have an amazing opportunity out here to live together.
You've got to, for your recovery, you've got to understand, like, this is a life or death situation. Anytime we go use, we're susceptible, we just are. No matter what drug it is or anything.
Out here at the Chester Program Women's House, this is where they get acclimated in their recovery foundation for the first 28 days.
Communication is the key to recovery. Yeah, we can say just don't use over here. Just don't use. Sometimes just don't use, that's great. I live by because I don't use no matter what, but also there's so much more over here that you got to work on in your soul.
This is a really good opportunity for females to come in where they get to build relationships with other women that they live with, because a lot of us come in and we have past trauma with women or have never had a woman figure in our life. They get to work through all that in early recovery.
The reward, though, is seeing you guys, seeing people like Ms. P coming back because she wanted to, seeing women get their children back, seeing you guys, develop relationships. That's what wakes me up in the morning and gets me to come to McShin and you guys, and seeing our alumni and like this. There's a million stories I could tell you about awesome women that have come through McShin and like where they're at now.
So if you're a female that is looking for a program recovery house, Chesterfield House will be an amazing opportunity for you to come out. And this is where you'll be able to found a great foundation of recovery.
Well, are we all here? Welcome back after the break. Honesty, anything before we jump into it?
No, you go right ahead.
All right, folks, for those that don't know me, I'm John Shinholzer, co-founder of Care Talks. Also, some are getting to call me an old timer in recovery. It seems like it's been forever. And I just want to let everybody know that, these Care Talks, we record all these talks that we do and we provide them at no cost to correctional facilities. And our latest count is that we've had actually hundreds of thousands of views inside these correctional facilities. And last week, a kid came to us from North Carolina jail. He said, man, I've been watching all those programs y'all been doing in the jail. I get them on my tablet for free. And as soon as I got out, I shot up to McShin. And he's been here a week now, loving life. So I think that's a big deal. I think first up, we got Charlotte Bismuth. Did I say that right, Charlotte? Bismuth. And before I read your bio, I want you to know that I have here your book. And it's all my stack of books to read. I haven't got to it yet. I'm not going to lie to you and say I read it and it was great and I stayed awake at night, but it's all my books. I'm going to read it and thank you for sending that to me. I got excited when I kind of flipped through it a little bit. So I know you put a lot of work into that book. But Charlotte Bismuth started her legal career at the firm of Du Bois and Plimpton. I'm not known for my, ability to spell words and talk right. But I'm known for other things that are pretty cool. Anyway, she's from New York. and she joined the New York County District Attorney's Office in 2008. After her work on the landmark manslaughter prosecution of Dr. Stan Lee, she left the DA's office to advocate for victims of the opioid epidemic. Charlotte also served as a consultant for the Prosecutor's Center for Excellence. Now, I read that and I'm thinking, a Prosecutor's Center for Excellence, I need to meet these people, because I get a lot of inmates complaining about their prosecutors. So there might be some excellence we need to work on there, but this is not the right time for it, of course. Anyway, she's a graduate of Columbia University, Columbia Law School, and the Institute Estudios Políticos. I'm kind of going through that quick, hoping I'm catching some of the vowels anyways, in Paris. Bonsoir, Anyways, we're so glad you're here. We're excited to hear what you got to share. And I was very impressed that Honesty were to get you on the show tonight. So good job, Honesty. Charlotte, it's all yours. Take it away.
I'm actually the one who's very humbled and honored to be on, especially after the incredible women who I heard speak before the break. And I'm sorry, I'm a little short, so I see that, I need to sit up a little bit. So I'm coming to you tonight as a former prosecutor, actually a former narcotics prosecutor. And the reason why I'm very, very honored to speak to you is that I want to talk about the power of empathy in changing my understanding of addiction when I was a prosecutor, and the power of empathy that I think many prosecutors' offices across the country could harness in working on this opioid crisis. So in an earlier life, I was at the Manhattan DA's office, and I got a tip one night about a doctor who was selling prescriptions in exchange for cash. He was actually a very successful physician. He had more than enough money, but greed pushed him to exploit the pain and suffering and addiction of others. That case changed my life. We investigated Dr. Lee for 4 years. We had a 4-month trial. Over the course of the investigation, we uncovered 16 overdose deaths associated with just his practice. And I met with many of those families, all of those families, and also with many of the patients who had miraculously survived his reckless prescribing. And of course, it was my job as the prosecutor to hold this doctor accountable for his crimes. But over the course of the 4 years, I actually had to hold myself accountable for my lack of knowledge and for the unconscious stigma that I was carrying about substance use disorder. My fellow ADAs and I had been trained. We had a textbook in our office about substances and symptoms of addiction. We knew about diversion programs. We were trying to dismantle drug trafficking rings. But what we didn't have was much contact with the human beings who suffered from substance use disorder, except in court as defendants. And in that context, there was stigma. And I'll give you a concrete example, which is, hard to talk about today, but I think it's important, which is that one of my first prescription drug cases was a young woman who had stolen and forged prescriptions for Vicodin. And I remember when she was in diversion court, and it was still my case, and I remember the judge giving her so many chances after she had relapsed in treatment. And I thought, well, how is that accountability? And I look back today based on what I learned in the Lee case, and I see it very differently. I think if I could go back, I would have celebrated every victory with this young woman. I would have celebrated the notes that she wrote to the judge advocating for herself, her unique personality that she brought to every court appearance, her diligent presence in court every single time, her persistence, her pride, and her repeated efforts. I really believe that prosecutors have a duty to understand addiction and to respect the humanity of every single defendant. And that means that they can't go it alone. The science, as Dr. Gabriella mentioned earlier has really evolved, and there's no excuse for not being aware of that anymore. Working on the Dr. Lee case taught me so much about substance use disorder. I had never understood, nobody had ever, of course, explained to me the unbearable urge to feel numb. It was something that I understood as somebody who struggled with depression my whole life, but I didn't know that in the context of addiction. I didn't understand the struggle for agency when your whole family wants to keep you alive, or what it feels like to go through withdrawal, what it feels like to go through withdrawal in a prison setting, which is especially horrific if, as was often the case with people of color, women, or people who suffered from mental health disorders, they were already at risk because of the bias and the lack of care that they were receiving in that setting. The case also taught me and members of my team about unconditional love and about courage. I remember one young woman who had struggled with mental health disorders and substance use disorder her entire life, who was really hesitating to testify. It was a very scary experience for her. And she told me, this before she took the stand, that she wanted to do it for the kids who had died. The judge, knowing how vulnerable she was, allowed her to testify with a stuffed animal in her arms that she clutched the entire time, but she did it. And it was the bravest, most powerful testimony I've ever seen. I witnessed parents who, fought from morning until night to organize treatment for their kids, who kept fighting even after their kids were gone, by supporting one another in their grief and by talking to other parents like me, and impressing on us the importance of opening up conversations with our kids, of never making any assumptions, of learning about substance use disorder. I know that they saved many lives. And ironically, even as my team was in the process of seeing and shedding our own stigma, it was getting in the way because stigma reduces access to justice. There were families and victims who didn't want to come forward because either in their jobs, substance use disorder was a disqualifier, or they knew that it would affect them in their community. And that, that was a very, very real concern. For me, seeing the stigma in the law that was attached to substance use disorder also allowed me to see the stigma attached to mental health disorders. And this was another factor that bonded me to the witnesses, the victims, and the families. As I mentioned, I have, struggled myself with depression and anxiety, a low self-worth, sense of self-worth, and we all understood what it felt like to navigate obligations of daily life and, the need to take care of others and take care of yourself when it's a struggle. There's so much work to be done. Through the Prosecutor's Center for Excellence, I've had the opportunity to study prosecutors' offices that are finding innovative solutions to try to save lives in the opioid epidemic. In Staten Island, for instance, prosecutors work very closely with clinicians and have a very strong network of recovery services in the community. In other communities, there are prosecutors who are designated as expert community liaisons who work closely with community groups, and I really hope to see those efforts multiplied across the country. I want every prosecutor to understand that substance use disorder is an illness and not a crime, that it's not an aggravating factor or an excuse, but an issue that calls for serious inquiry, for reliable information, for medical input, and for thoughtful expert intervention. And if saving lives is our priority, which it should be, and it is, then I really believe that prosecutors have a crucial role to play in shedding their own stigma and dismantling it wherever it is. I want to thank you all for giving me the opportunity to speak, and I am learning so much from hearing everybody else talk. Thank you.
Wonderful talk, Charles. And, you know, I love the fact you dialed in on that stigma. Stigma been killing more people than they're almost up there with the drug policies themselves. So, you know, that's a big hit. We might have to chat more about that stigma piece because there's so much work to do with that. But love hearing you talk. Now I'm really excited. I might start that book tonight. So you might have got me started on that. Thank you so much. Up next, we got Joyce Bronson. Now, Joyce, my special project here, you know, we met a couple years ago. She come through McShin as one of our participants, and she did so good. She's now our intake coordinator. But I got to watch Joyce do a rapid rise in recovery and become this incredible mother and this great employee and just a true warrior for recovery, and works day and night, 7 days a week. And just wonderful to have you at McShin, Joyce. But take it away, Joyce.
Thank you, John. It's actually been great, you know, watching you and Honesty and all of the staff members. You know, when I came to McShin, McShin's not exactly where I got clean at. I did a rehab somewhere else, but I came here for sober living, and that's where I actually learned about recovery. I didn't learn about recovery until I actually got into McShin. I actually just came here to shut some people up. My whole intent was to continue to do what I was doing. I'm going back home. I'm going to continue to drink. But upon the first day coming into McShin, when I walked in here, the love that was shown, me coming from the streets was not used to seeing love like that. I always thought someone had an alternative motive. So coming to McShin, I learned about love. They taught me, you know, about forgiveness. I've learned a lot of different things, and I found my pathway here. And that's what I actually use now for when I have intakes. Intake people who want help. It's not 9 to 5. It's not Monday through Friday. You have to be there when they want the help. Same day access is very important when you're working in recovery. Individuals, they don't want to wait until 9 o'clock on Monday morning to get help. If they need help, they want to call you on Saturday at 11 o'clock at night, then that's when we got to be there to answer their call. And that's one thing I enjoy and I like about McShin and love working here because of the fact that we make things happen. We don't put you on hold. You're ready for help, we're ready to give it to you. I implement that when I meet a newcomer. I remember from when my first day and walking into McShin, I was scared, I was nervous. And that's what people are when they come in here. They're scared, they're nervous. Parents, they don't know what to do. And what we do here is we show them love. We show them, hey, we've been there. You know, we don't forget where we start, where we came from. This is an authentic peer-to-peer recovery place, every recovery foundation, I should say. And everyone on our staff, including our founder, a co-founder, is in recovery. And we all remember what it was like. And we remember, what we felt like when we had no one, but we felt like we had no one. We saw our life spiral out of control. So when we see the newcomer, we remember that we were there and what worked for us. Let's what may work for me may not work for this person, but I bet you our director of mail programs or a data collector or anyone here has a story that aligns with the story of a newcomer. And that's what's so great about McShin is they have taken people in recovery and they found what we were good at, and they elaborated on our skills. My main skill is not public talking, but I definitely have a message to give because I'm such a true believer in what we do here. Like I said, my main thing is the same day access that we do, same day service. I actually, at one time, we didn't have an available spot for someone. And I remember that I still worked to try to get him into another place. And we went through so many hurdles, so many obstacles. And I was like, wow. And, and with McShin, they don't have to go through all that. They put someone on a back burner for a week. And I'm like, this person, if they want help today, they don't want to wait a week to come in. We need to help them now. So, I mean, unfortunately, with that particular person, I was not able to get the outside help, but we did make room for him, and we found a spot for him. But, it just me having to go through that. I imagine what someone else who is looking for help would go through. And that's why I always answer my phone. It doesn't matter what time, what day. I could be on vacation. If I may miss that call, but if you leave a message, I'll make sure I call back that number. I remember having a parent one night call me at 3:00 in the morning, not knowing what to do with their child. And I stood on the phone with him. I, spoke with him. I unfortunately couldn't take him at 3:00 in the morning. I tried to call our house leader who was there. But unfortunately, 3:00 in the morning, the gentleman was asleep. So I stood on the line with him, and I met him here in the first thing in the morning. So we met at 8:00 in the morning with his son. He just drove around town with his son. But sometimes that's what you have to do. The great thing is that, to have family members not give up on their child. I know with me, myself, a lot of people gave up on me. A lot, my siblings, a lot of my other extended family told my mom, give up on her. She's never going to change. She's going to continue to do what she does. She never gave up, but she was losing hope. And then, now she tells me all the time how proud she is. And it's just because of the experience I've had here. Like I said, I didn't get clean here, but this is where they taught me recovery. And this is where I actually got motivated. McShin gave me a purpose back in my life that I thought I lost. I didn't lost motivation for a lot of different things. And I see that on a lot of people that come here. They lose the motivation. They feel like they don't have a self-worth anymore. And we help them find it. Everyone there's a reason why you're still here. And, just that the point to find it and find what your purpose is. But everyone has a purpose. And I found that here at McShin. Again, I thought I had lost it. I felt like there was no reason for me to, continue to move on. Even though I had children, I still felt like, hey, they're better off without me. But, having found my purpose and, being able to help new people that come in and let them know, hey, we love you. There's a reason why you're still here. God has his reason for you. Again, whatever your pathway is, we definitely work on it, finding it for you. Everyone is a little different, but, at the end of the day, all we want is to be loved. So that's what we do here at McShin. We're healing families and saving lives every day. And again, I thank you guys for allowing me to speak. I was a little nervous, but hopefully you got my message.
Good job, Joyce, man. I knew I could count on you. Joyce is like when you walk through the build, man, it's almost like, you're going to have some excitement when you get in front of Joyce. So I appreciate that. Joanne, our next speaker, I got to tell you about Joanne. We were talking one day. I was telling her we got this recovery event in Richmond. She lives in West Virginia, by the way. It's got to be 4 or 5 hours away. Next thing I know, she's driving down to Richmond to get up in this recovery event. And then to make it even extra special, her husband got in the car and drove right after work. So I'm thinking, who drives 4 or 5 hours to go to this recovery event? But I got to meet her, man. She's full of energy and passion. She's a real warrior in the recovery advocacy world. And she's very helpful with the RAP, program they got going around the United States. And I'm just real impressed with you, Joanne. And I want to hear what you got to say. And I'm glad you come on tonight. So how about a warm welcome for Joanne Vance from, I guess it's West Virginia, right? Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you guys having me on here. 8 minutes is plenty of time for my microphone to be off of mute. So if you hear kids screaming in the background, I'll be okay, or I'll mute it real quick. So my name's Joanne Vance, and I'm going to share. I'm a person in recovery. I think I don't know if it was Honesty or Todd or who wrote that introduction for me that you guys posted earlier about, talking to my elected officials. That was awesome. If it wouldn't have had my picture on it, I wouldn't have thought that it was talking about me. I really don't think about a lot. I know that I do a lot of stuff, but I really don't think about all that it is that I'm doing. So Honesty told me that I had to pick an addiction solution to talk about. And we just had Recovery Day at the Capitol. It was virtual this year here in West Virginia. And it was Recovery Community Day. And that's going to be my topic is building recovery communities and finding your recovery community, because that has been something that has been key in my own recovery and advocacy and relational organizing today. So I'm going to share a story with you about why it's important to me and why I do the things that I do. If I get a little bit emotional, please excuse me. It's hard to be vulnerable sometimes, but it breaks stigma, and I'm learning. Hang on one second. No, goodbye. Sorry. No. Kid alert. My bad. Okay, so I'm a child of parents who use drugs, and my dad overdosed and died on Thanksgiving Day when I was 15 years old. There's a bigger story about community behind that. I might have enough time. No, I really don't have enough time to tell it. My dad overdosed and died on Thanksgiving Day when I was in 10th grade. I was 15, and the community really, at a time when there was no Narcan and nobody even dared to murmur the word overdose out loud, the community still, when I went to my dad's funeral, there were like flowers and a primitive blanket and everything all set up by the casket. That the school had taken up donations and sent to the funeral for me, just so that, one of the darkest times in my life, I knew that I wasn't alone, even regardless of the stigma on it. So skip forward to, I was 17 years old, and it was my senior year of high school. It was senior night for basketball, and I was a senior captain, and usually at halftime on senior night, the parents of the seniors walk out their children, and they get flowers or balloons, and the team gives them stuff. And it had been a really hard game, but my mom didn't come. She had said that she was going to come, and I was I was one of the two captains of the team, and she didn't even show up, and it was like the most absolute embarrassing time ever, like my senior year, and I should have known better. She didn't. I wasn't even going to go out for senior night, and I had two of my coaches and two of my best friends' parents came out from the stands, and they walked me out for senior night. And there's many, I have many memories like that growing up where I was a community kid, and the community really took care of me. And even though I still didn't learn the lesson from my parents, I still fell into a life of active use. Generational curses are hard to break, but I'm a person in recovery now, and now today I am a mother, and I'm a daughter, and I'm a wife. I am a daughter-in-law. I'm an aunt. I am a tax-paying citizen. I'm a homeowner. I am a soon-to-be business owner. That's super exciting, but I can't tell much about it. I'm an unpaid lobbyist. I'm an organizer. I'm an activist. I'm a trainer. There's so many things that I get to do today that is a direct result of my recovery, but not just Like, yes, I put in the work for my recovery, but the support that I've had built in my recovery community around that is what really holds me all together. Like, you cannot replace the support that you get in your recovery community. And while I'm talking about it, I want to go ahead and mention that a recovery community is not just made up of people in recovery. It's people in recovery from multiple pathways, from marginalized communities, from harm reduction in people who use drugs, people who's never used drugs at all, like allies, family members, friends. The recovery community is made up of so many different aspects that makes our community. And I'm very thankful for the Recovery Advocacy Project and teaching me about what a constituency is. And now I understand like all of the different aspects of the parts that actually makes a community. And to not add stigma and to be completely inclusive. And I know I have a little bit of time left, but definitely my biggest tool is definitely my community, because if I have any questions of anything from all the way from business development to grassroots organizing to grants to laws, like there's people in my recovery community that already know stuff about that, and that can point me in the right direction of the person or articles or anything to help me. And I guess in closing, you cannot pick your family, and you can't change your past mistakes. You can only work on your now and your recovery today and build the community that you want to be surrounded with moving forward.
Wonderful talk, Joanne. Very, very proud of you. Great job. Our final speaker here, I got to be honest with you. She's just this one here. It's like if she was in the Marine Corps, she'd be at least a colonel. Okay. I'm not saying she'd be general yet, but she'd be a colonel. But, I met Honesty, when she first come around bouncing in and out of recovery, and I got to watch her, transform into this incredible, just a recovery. Oh man, she's beyond warrior. She's almost like a chief at this point. But she helped make McShin. And if anybody know anything about McShin, we're like one of the I think one of the best authentic or just an incredible agency. Multi-million-dollar company, nonprofit charity, and honestly helped build that up and be who we are today. But I also know, honestly, she's human like the rest of us. And I know she's had a hell of a week this week. Her dog of 10 years, passed away, died this week. And I know that was hard on you. And your stepmother was in a very terrible accident, but I understand she's going to be okay. But I know that's been worrying you to death. And you do so much for so many people. You're raising your children. You're this wife to your husband, who's from West Virginia, by the way. So that ain't always easy. And you're this great child of your parents. And then plus you look after all these girls at McShin, and then you run the place, and you got put up with me. I don't know how you do it, to be honest with you. I'm sure we ain't paying you enough. But anyways, without taking up any more of your time, honestly, celebrating women and Women's Month, I can't think of a better closing speaker than you. So have at it. Welcome.
Thank you very much. So to be honest with you, I spoke in the first Care Talks we had in New York City, and that was 3 or 4 years ago. But I didn't even really have, it has been a hard week for sure. And I didn't really have a topic. And then, Alden spoke, and I was like, oh, that's good. And then when Joanna just spoke, I said, oh, darn, she got mine for the recovery community. And I was like, okay, I have a ton of different addiction solutions, I suppose. But I guess I want to really touch on being a woman in recovery and what that means, and to try to break the barriers and that negative outlook of being a woman in recovery. So with my story really quick, I'm a woman. I used a lot of drugs at a very young age. I never liked myself growing up as a child. I had so much body image issues. I had so much I guess hatred or just discomfort of like the woman that I was and became as a teenager and blossomed into this, young woman. So I filled my life with drugs and alcohol for so many years, for 14 years actually. And I didn't know really what a woman was supposed to be besides kind of learning from TV and stuff, that they cook, they clean, they take care of the children and, kind of all of that type of stuff. And, throughout my process of addiction, since I started when I was 12, like I could fill different voids with drugs and alcohol that I didn't have to show up to society as what a woman is supposed to look like, right? So for me, through that addiction process, and falling in love with opiates, specifically heroin, the last 9 years of my use, I became a mother through that process, in my active addiction. So, when I had my daughter, I thought, life was going to be, these roses and sunshines and like all the things that I saw on TV, right? Like I was going to change. I was never going to use again. And throughout my pregnancy, I used my whole pregnancy with her. And then, having her, I still didn't understand how to take care of this human. You can read the books, what to expect when you're expecting. You can watch TV shows. My daddy was big on Leave It to Beaver, so June Cleaver and all of that. But like having a little human in front of you was the hardest thing I could possibly do at that time. I was 21 years old. I was full blown on heroin again. And I didn't know how to help this little girl, right? Because all I cared about and all I knew was doing opiates on a day-to-day basis, because once you get addicted to opiates, it's that physical addiction as well. So I kind of wanted to be a mom, but again, I knew that was kind of in the way of my addiction, right? And it sounds harsh, and I'm very open about it now, but it took me a lot of years of my recovery to speak on this subject. So, throughout that, when I found like recovery and I found the McShin Foundation after 9 years, I overdosed when I was 17 and got brought back with Narcan. So 9 years, I tried to fix myself. I tried to be this woman that society was telling me to be, that my family wanted me to be, that humans, in the grocery store think that a woman is supposed to be. So I had so much shame and negative outlook on myself. I honestly hated myself when I found McShin. And I came to McShin just really wanting to get detoxed and take a shower and like, okay, maybe I'll be a mother to this child, right? And my daughter was 5 years old when I found McShin. And, through that community, we call it the Herd, Get in the Herd podcast. If you want to watch that, shout out to that for McShin. It's an amazing podcast. But getting in that herd and like the women that surrounded me, specifically the moms, which back then, because I've got almost 14 years in recovery, so it's really cool year since I used for 14 years. So I'm excited about that coming up. But, the women that kind of adopted me and taught me how to be a mom. So I lived in McShin for 5 months and I got my daughter back. Again, she was 5 years old. I had no idea what I was doing. For those from womb till 5 years old, I was there kind of physically, but mentally I was never there for her. And so it was hard. It was hard trying to figure out, how do I give this child love? How do I give her empathy? How do I, help her tie her shoes? Like, how do I do all this? Because I was so addicted to heroin. Like, I didn't know how to do all of those things. And you're expected as a woman, and I truly believe this still to this day, that you are supposed to know how to do all this stuff. And so then that just built up more stigma towards myself in early recovery. And it took me a while to kind of like break down the barriers of being a woman in recovery and what that looks like, and break down, that negative outlook as far as, the humans that I would talk about my addiction, especially back in the day, probably about the first 5 years. It's like there was so much negative outlook on addiction, specifically if you were a mom, and you were this woman that, I share my story and you could see people in audiences like kind of cringe or like their eyes get really big of like, oh my, she did what, and I felt that, but I kept going. John and Carol taught me well on how to speak in public and how to get our message out. And, I just kept going, but it still hurt like crap seeing these people's facial expressions. Right. So for me to be able to like, have this process of recovery and really heal myself. In order for me to heal myself, I had to really dive deep in my childhood trauma, stuff that's happened in my past, stuff that's happened to me as a woman in my active addiction, and stuff that's happened to me in my recovery as well. And, you know, for me, being able to like work through all of that stuff, and I'm still working on it. I truly am. And I'm able to help the other women that come through McShin or come through my life. And that's a slew of different solutions. You know, first I had to break that negative outlook on what a woman is supposed to look like. And also that negative outlook of like women, you know, when I got into recovery really quick, there was not that many women. Like there was no women in McShin. It was one woman that lived there for like a week and then she left. And McShin was we had one recovery house for women and there was no women staff. So I was surrounded by men all the time, which is cool because I'm still here today because of it. But there was no, you know, outlet for me besides women that were in a recovery community that adopted me. So now we are able at McShin, and being women in recovery and getting our lives back, we're able to help hundreds and hundreds of women, probably thousands actually, that have come through McShin, and we're able to somewhat try to save their life. But not only just try to save their life, teach them how to be the mothers that they're meant to be, the wife, the partner, whatever your role is, you know, in your life. And to break those barriers was really hard for me. And to touch on another kind of solution for me is, is that body image, what a woman is supposed to look like. And that beat me down for a long time in my recovery. Like addiction, it definitely beat me down, but even in recovery. So a big part of addiction solution for me is health and wellness. I'm a big, huge advocate of eating healthy, but not perfectly, of exercises and taking care of my body. I had Hep C. Gosh, I don't even know. I found out when I was in McShin, so all those years ago. So I just cured that a couple years ago. And like, it is really important for me to take care of my body as a woman, as a wife, and specifically as a mom. Like I lost a lot of years of my life, you know, specifically with my daughter, you know, but now she's 19, my son is 11, you know, our relationship in our household, it's not perfect. It's chaotic. My other dog barks. My Jaxie passed away this week, but, oh gosh, but, you know, and, you know, to be able to like really take care of myself, because what recovery and addiction solutions really teach me is I am I don't want to say use, but I cannot help those around me that I know I am meant to help. I don't take care of myself and do self-care and take mental health days and do the things that I need to do. And I do that, you know, and I do that, you know, and I have an amazing support group and people around me, you know, so I break those barriers of like what I'm teaching my daughter, 19 years old. She's, you know, our relationship is amazing. I'm teaching her, you know, who knows what a woman's supposed to be? Like, I don't know. We got a freaking woman vice president now. Like, who's to say the society is supposed to tell us what a woman is supposed to do and not do? I know for me, I am strong. I am smart. You know, I love my body today. And that took me a lot of teen years in my recovery to honestly say that. And, I think I'm pretty amazing. You know, I'm not perfect, you know, but I know my recovery teaches me on a day-to-day basis, you know, how to heal, how to be strong. And this week has been hard as crap. Like probably the hardest week I have been in my recovery to this day. And everyone keeps saying, you're strong, you're the strong one, you're strong, and you're strong. And I am strong, and I know I am. It's because I've been through a lot and I've overcome it. But sometimes being a strong woman is asking for help, is crying your eyes out, is holding your child because he just lost his first doggy. You know, the things that we have to do and not use. You know, I can honestly say using came across my mind for like a second a few days ago, literally a second. But the reality of it is the solution to addiction for me to able to help others with addiction is to not use no matter what. No matter what I'm going through, is to learn about it, grow about it, cry about it, scream about it. I run. I'm a runner. We started McShin Run Club at McShin, and and move forward. Whatever that looks like. It doesn't have to be graceful. It doesn't have to be beautiful, but keep moving forward, because I know if I use today the situation that I'm dealt with my family, I will never be able to show up for them ever. And it will cause more chaos and drama for them in their life. So solutions, hopefully you got some solutions out of that. But the biggest one is take care of yourself, your mind, your body, and soul in order for you, even if you're not in recovery, if you're in the addiction field, wherever, like what Alden said earlier, we all made it through this COVID year, and it has been hell in our field, specifically with the deaths and just everything, stacked against us. So it's really, really important for us to be a voice, but also take care. I have to take care of myself in order to be that voice to help that next person that I see, whether it's through the jail tablets, walking through McShin, on social media, or at the daggone grocery store. I have to take care of my personal recovery in order to help those that don't even know what recovery is, and those that are seeking some form of hope out there to try to even attempt to save their life. So thank you.
Good job, honestly. I hear you ladies talk, kind of make me wish I was a woman, man. I mean, y'all make being a woman sound cool and fun. So, I think this was an awesome panel you put together. It's a wonderful night. I can't thank y'all enough for coming on. One of she's the chairman of our board. She shows up at every one of these Care Talk. Old Debbie Rosenbaum, I see her on there, posting comments. And, there's another great woman, the first chairman woman that we've had of our board, I think. And says a lot about you ladies, man. I'm just so proud to be around you and be in your mix, man. Y'all really make time on earth pretty cool. So I appreciate that. We got any announcements, Honesty?
No, I just want to thank everyone. If you want to announce what you're doing at 9:00 with Mark Lundholm, that would be cool.
Well, we're going to have a real funny guy on at 9:00 tonight on the McShin Facebook page. One of the funniest comedians in America, Mark Lundholm, buddy of mine. We're just going to go, toe to toe. I got no idea what we're going to do, but I'm sure it's going to be fun. So y'all ought to come back at 9 and see what we're made of. Who knows? But anything else?
No, just follow us.
Mobilize?
Huh?
Is that the comedian from Mobilize?
He's from California, but probably, he's a funny guy.
I think he did do one of those. It's Mark Lundholm. He's done a bunch of documentaries. We actually did one with him in the jail years ago, Behind These Walls. I think ever spread the word. It's going to be funny. Do I need to be on there to kind of babysit a little?
Look, I'm going on plug, man. I don't know.
It's my bedtime. I take care of my body, remember? So I go to bed.
Right. You could be different.
This has been amazing. I think this has been an awesome lineup. You women are amazing. Men rock too. I just wanted to really focus, since it's women. We're making history, ladies. We're part of the female woman celebrating Women's History Month. We are literally making history in our own lives.
I want to do one last shout out for Charlotte's book. Y'all be sure and get that book and read it. It's sure to be a blockbuster. Charlotte, I apologize for botching your bio there. They honestly set me up with those big words. She knew I couldn't enunciate those words. So yes, you did. You knew. You got me on that one. But thank you so much, ladies, and more later. Thank you.
Bye.